Hezbollah has turned the international airport in Beirut into a weapons warehouse under the nose of the Lebanese state and the international companies, agencies, and NGOs who use that airport. Hezbollah's method of operation in Lebanon is being exposed, and a growing number of prominent voices inside Lebanon are protesting against it. Meanwhile, the IDF has destroyed a Hamas training facility in Rafah and continues to operate in the center and south of the Gaza Strip, eliminating senior Hamas officials one by one. Elsewhere, security operations in Judea and Samaria also continue to intensify. Let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel on the 262nd day of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and all its regional proxies. A report was published on Sunday in the British Telegraph news portal, giving details about a massive stockpile of Iranian-made weapons and ammunition that Hezbollah is keeping at Beirut's Rafic Hariri International Airport. An employee at the airport is quoted in the report saying that large and mysterious boxes are arriving on direct flights from Iran, and things seems to be getting worse and worse. According to the report, the weapons Hezbollah is keeping at the airport include flak rockets, Kornet anti-tank missiles, Russian-made, of advanced models, heavy Burkan rockets, short-range Fatah 110 missiles, as well as M600 mobile ballistic missiles with a range of almost 300 kilometers. Another alarming detail is that Iran has also supplied Hezbollah with chemical explosives. The report added that Hezbollah's use of this civilian facility for storing weapons opens up the possibility that Israel would target it in a case of a war. The Lebanese researcher in exile, Fadi El-Ahmar, told the El Hamat news portal that, for me, this report confirms what has already been confirmed. Rafic el-Hariri airport in Beirut is Qasem Soleimani's airport. This airport is part of Hezbollah's security and military formation. The Lebanese researcher Hanin Jader added that she believes that Hezbollah has been smuggling weapons through the airport in Beirut for decades, and it is no secret that they have warehouses under the field. This is now coming out for a political reason and not as news. In the event of a war, Israel can bomb the airport. Meanwhile, the aviation union in Lebanon issued a statement that there is no proof of what was published in the Telegraph regarding the presence of weapons and rockets at the airport in Beirut. Please take an active part in spreading the truth. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, and if you'd like to receive additional videos like this one, please consider making a financial donation by clicking the donate button in YouTube or by going to our website at www.tbn.org/Israel. Before we continue, a word of explanation is in order. The international airport in Beirut is a position of critical strategic importance, as it is the main gateway in and out of Lebanon for the entire world. Everyone who has any kinds of business in Lebanon uses this airport. Hezbollah has an obvious interest in taking as much control over it as possible. And there are reports that Hezbollah has even begun training to build a separate airport for their own use. This will allow them to operate more freely. But for now, there is only one airport, and Hezbollah likes to use it to receive air cargo from Iran, because when Iran sends ground convoys filled with weapons, narcotics, and other contraband to northern Iraq and Syria, these convoys are vulnerable to attacks by Israeli and Jordanian aircrafts. So Hezbollah needs full control over the supply chain of equipment and weapons from Iran with full civilian cover directly to Lebanon. So they are moving forcefully to take full control of the airport using corrupt local officers and police officers and even private business interests. However, Hezbollah is not invincible, and not everyone is intimidated by them. The Israeli Foreign Ministry has launched a campaign to raise awareness of the fact that Hezbollah puts Iranian interests first and has little interest in the needs of ordinary Lebanese people. a growing number of influencers inside Lebanon are also raising their voices to make this same point and demanding that Hezbollah not start a war with Israel, which would leave Lebanon devastated and benefit no one but Iran. Also, everyone remembers the massive explosion at the port in Beirut in 2020, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of Lebanese people. That explosion was caused by a cargo pile of fertilizer being left in a warehouse near the port, and when a fire broke out, this fertilizer exploded. No one would want the same thing to happen at the airport in Beirut, but it could very easily happen if Hezbollah stores large quantities of missiles and other explosive materials there. Meanwhile, from Israel's perspective, it can be seen that Hezbollah's activities are changed in recent days following the assassination of Iman Atama in the Lebanon Valley. It raises a question about what Hezbollah leader Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah and his henchmen are thinking. Is this evil man preparing a painful one-off operation within the conflict area? Or perhaps, does he intend to act out of bounds and challenge Israel? Or is he currently refraining from acting massively for fear that his response will lead to a complete destruction of his organization, Hezbollah, along with much of the rest of Lebanon? Another very interesting question is why this information about weapons stored by Hezbollah at the Rafic Hariri International Airport is being exposed at this time. It gives Israel international legitimacy to hit that airport, and it has already added to the intense criticism of Hezbollah, which is coming from all directions, including inside Lebanon. As of now, it is likely that Hassan Nasrallah has not received permission from Iran to escalate the situation to a more extensive confrontation with Israel. Nasrallah is also believed not to want a confrontation at this time because his forces are not in an ideal position for such a conflict. One thing that is certain is that vigilance on both sides of the Israel-Lebanon border is at its peak, and each side is monitoring the activity and inactivity of the other. So please continue to spread the truth, share and follow us. Take a minute and press the follow button so that together we can give the truth its rightful place. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Now let's shift our attention to the Gaza Strip. The IDF continues to operate in the Rafah area, where it has completed most of the objectives set for it by the political echelon, including full control of the Philadelphia corridor and the smuggling routes in and out of Egyptian territory. IDF forces also destroyed a training post in Rafah, where they located the offices of Hamas commanders, and at the same time raided another terrorist training compound where they seized documents. During that same moment, it was reported that tanks were seen in the humanitarian area in the northwest of the city. As mentioned, the IDF has completed most of the ground operations in Rafah that were defined for it by the political echelon under restrictions and pressures from the United States and Egypt, which opposed an expanded operation that included the occupation of the entire city. The political echelon gave the IDF the task of destroying up to 60% of the Hamas battalions in Rafah in head-to-head battles with the remaining terrorist forces to be mopped out in targeted raids. Division 162, which was the main IDF formation assigned to operate in Rafah, has nearly completed this mission and will soon be withdrawn. This will mark the end of major combat operations in the Gaza Strip. For now, the battle continues, with the IDF spokesperson's office announcing in the last 24 hours that the 401st Brigade's combat team raided and destroyed the Abu Said post, the training base of the Tel El Sultan battalion of Hamas in the Rafah area. During the raid, the soldiers located the office of the commander of the Tel El Sultan battalion, Mahmoud Hamada, as well as warehouses of weapons and a number of tunnels that are in the process of being explored and then destroyed. In the area of the outpost, the fighters raided the office of Rafah's brigade commander, Yasser Net, who was in charge of a number of launches into Israeli territory and against our forces. At the same time as the raid on the outpost, the soldiers raided the military compound for training Hamas terrorists. The fighters located many weapons, a number of shafts that were used to carry out attacks against our forces, and intelligence documents. Earlier, the IDF spokesman stated about the activities of the Givati Brigade in the Rafah area. The brigade's combat team, it was reported, eliminated armed terrorists and raided terrorist targets in the area. In the course of these raids, many tunnels and various means of warfare were located, including weapons and explosives. In the center of the Gaza Strip, the IDF spokesman said, the forces of the 99th Division are eliminating terrorists, destroying terror infrastructure, and locating weapons, while the Air Force continues to hit Hamas targets all over the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, the Reuters news agency reported that displaced persons were evacuated to the humanitarian area of El Mawasi in northwest Rafah, claimed to have seen IDF tanks in the area. According to residents there, the IDF continues to advance toward the west and north of Rafah, with intense fighting and many attacks. Please continue to spread the truth. You can do so by subscribing to this YouTube channel and sharing our videos to anyone who seeks to know the truth about what is happening in Israel. As we continue to report the news to you, the same story keeps coming up, and that is the story of the elimination of one senior terrorist from Hamas and Hezbollah after another. This raises questions about how much longer these terrorist organizations can continue to function and what they will do as they become less organized and thus less predictable. Will Hamas and Hezbollah be able to recover from these setbacks, and if so, how long will it take them to do so? For now, we can see that against the background of the IDF's presence in the Gaza Strip and the elimination of senior members of the terrorist organization, Hamas has no real command and control on the ground. From a terrorist army, Hamas has turned to being a guerrilla band. Each local commander acts according to his ability in his sector. Terrorist squads fight with the weapons they have left, and they flee to the tunnels when they ran out of ammunition. In addition, as part of the attempt to rehabilitate, Hamas is trying to recruit more and more fighters during the war, even trying to get teenagers to join the fight. Hitting the senior officials has a double impact, not only depriving Hamas of the training and experience of the leaders themselves, but also taking away a symbol of the organization in the minds of the general population. That makes it even more important for the IDF to continue eliminating these senior terrorist operatives, as they are a key pillar in the organization, and the mission of destroying their ability to threaten Israel starts with destroying these leaders. Another major consideration is the destruction of the arms manufacturing capabilities that Hamas built in the Gaza Strip. Although crude, the rockets that Hamas built using irrigation pipes and fertilizer that was meant for growing crops are deadly, and they have killed several Israelis over the years and wounded many more. Cutting off the routes Hamas used to smuggle more sophisticated weapons into the Strip is also a major strategic objective of this war. So please continue to spread the truth, share and follow us on social media, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. This is a spiritual war, and in order to pray for the situation, we need to understand what's going on and know the facts. Speaking of what's happening in Israel, we will conclude today's report by telling you about some recent events in Judea and Samaria. Over the weekend, we witnessed a sequence of two tragic cases. In these cases, Israeli civilians entered the city of Qalqilia in Area A, which is under the administration of the Palestinian Authority, and were murdered. An investigation revealed that these Israelis went into Qalqilia for the very ordinary reason that vegetables, car repairs, and other goods and services they needed are less expensive in there than in Israel. But heartless terrorists saw this ordained activity and decided to murder them in cold blood. The perpetrators of these evil murders took advantage of an opportunity they saw to attack Jewish people who were just there to get some vegetables. They are currently being pursued by the Shin Bet and other Israeli security services, and if they are captured alive, they will be prosecuted. Shin Bet is very good at this sort of things, and we expect to hear from them very soon that the murderers have been tracked down and apprehended. Here at TBN Israel, we will keep you updated on this story. Please pray together with us for the peace of the IDF soldiers, for the peace of the State of Israel, for wisdom to our leaders, for wisdom to the international community to make the right decisions in this conflict, for the civilians that are affected on both sides. And most importantly, please join us in prayer for the peace of Jerusalem. And together we know that God will win because He's in control of every situation.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.